Donald Trump has gone after reporters, politicians, CEOs, world leaders, but nothing gets under his skin like a late-night comedian with a microphone. And no one has ever managed to crawl deeper into Trump's head than Jimmy Kimmel. It's a feud that goes beyond jokes, beyond politics, beyond TV ratings. This is the story of a former president who became so consumed, so obsessed, so rattled by a comedian's monologues that he actually tried, multiple times, to get Kimmel taken off the air. Not criticized, not clapped back at, not joked about in return, but silenced. And the funniest part? Every attempt backfired. Every tantrum made Kimmel even louder, and every time Trump tried to shut him down, Kimmel came back with an even harder punch. But before the censorship attempts, before the phone calls to Disney executives, before the late-night meltdowns on Truth Social, the whole thing started with one simple fact. Jimmy Kimmel is one of the few public figures who never feared Trump. Every night he roasted him. Every time Trump lied, he mocked him. Every time Trump raged online, Kimmel turned it into a bit that millions of people watched, and Trump hated it. So much so that by the time Congress began pushing to release the Epstein files, one of the biggest political pressure points of the decade, the tension between Trump and Kimmel was already boiling over. Trump was already lashing out at reporters, calling them terrible people, attacking them for simply asking questions. But the political chaos was only the backdrop, because behind the scenes, something else was happening, something Trump didn't want anyone to know. He was trying to weaponize his presidency to shut Jimmy Kimmel up. At the same time that the House and Senate were moving at lightning speed to force transparency on the Epstein documents, Trump was raging about jokes. While lawmakers were voting, debating, and outmaneuvering each other, Trump was fixated on late-night monologues. While Senate Democrats cornered MAGA Republicans into passing a bill unanimously, something unheard of in modern politics, Trump was worried about what Kimmel said about his tan, his hair, his scandals, and his endless list of legal problems. He was the President of the United States, and yet he behaved like a man who believed the greatest threat to his power wasn't Congress, but a comedian. That's why this story is so wild. It isn't just about Trump being thin-skinned. It isn't just about comedy hitting a nerve. It's about a former president actively trying to interfere with free speech because a comedian made fun of him on TV. And it all started years earlier, in 2018, when Trump finally snapped. Kimmel was tearing into him nightly on ABC. Jokes about Trump's ego, his scandals, his contradictions, his inability to stay calm for more than 15 seconds. The kind of sharp, relentless roasting that hit him exactly where it hurt most, his image. And Trump decided he wasn't going to take it anymore. He didn't fight back with humor. He didn't go on TV and defend himself. He didn't fire back with his own monologue like other presidents might. Instead, Trump ordered his White House staff to pick up the phone and complain to Disney executives. The President of the United States, the most powerful elected official in the world, used his staff to call the parent company of ABC to try to stop a comedian from making jokes about him. It was petty, it was insecure, it was unpresidential, but most importantly, it was only the beginning. Because after that first attempt failed, Trump would spend years escalating the feud. More attacks, more attempts to interfere, more public meltdowns, more pressure on networks, more behind-the-scenes moves to silence Kimmel once and for all. What Trump didn't expect was that every swing he took only made the story bigger. Every insult pushed Kimmel to hit back harder. And every attempt to shut the comedian down only exposed how terrified Trump really was of a simple monologue. And the moment that truly set Trump over the edge, the moment he realized he couldn't control the narrative, was when Congress finally cornered him on the Epstein files, and the entire country was watching. While lawmakers forced an almost unanimous bipartisan vote, while Senate Democrats forced MAGA Republicans to stand down, while the bill moved rapidly toward Trump's desk, Kimmel was there, night after night, amplifying the pressure with brutal precision. And Trump couldn't handle it. Not the politics, not the jokes, not the exposure. This was the beginning of the war, and it was only going to get uglier from here. By the time 2018 rolled around, Trump's irritation had turned into a full-blown obsession. Kimmel wasn't just roasting him anymore, he was dismantling him, monologue by monologue. Every night, Kimmel hit Trump where it hurt: the ego, the bravado, the contradictions, and the never-ending scandals. And Trump reacted the only way Trump knows how, by escalating. The pressure in Washington was already building. Democrats and even some Republicans were pushing for the release of the Epstein files, a topic Trump desperately hoped would stay buried. MAGA leadership in the House tried to stall, distract, amend, delay, but the dam finally broke. The House passed the bill almost unanimously. The Senate moved immediately. Chuck Schumer forced Republicans into a corner by announcing he would put the bill up for unanimous consent. If anyone objected, the entire country would see exactly who was trying to block it. No one dared to object. The Senate passed it with zero resistance. While all this was happening, Trump wasn't focusing on the bill, the fallout, or the political consequences. He was ranting about Jimmy Kimmel, a comedian who, according to Trump, had gone too far. The truth was simpler. Kimmel made Trump look weak, and Trump couldn't stand it. Then the 2018 story leaked. Rolling Stone reported that Trump had literally ordered his White House staff to call Disney and complain about the jokes on Jimmy Kimmel Live. A president using government staff to pressure a private company because a comedian bruised his ego. It was absurd, it was petty, it was embarrassing. And for Kimmel, it was gasoline on the fire. He tore into Trump for days. He mocked Trump's outrage. He mocked the idea of the president watching late-night TV instead of running the country. And he mocked how thin-skinned Trump truly was. But what made Trump furious was that nothing he did worked. Disney didn't fire Kimmel. ABC didn't cancel the show. Kimmel didn't tone anything down. In fact, he turned it up. By 2023, when the story resurfaced publicly, Kimmel used half his monologue to roast Trump's obsession. He laughed at the idea that a world leader was trying to control jokes. He laughed at the idea that Trump, a man already drowning in legal problems and political chaos, was dedicating energy to policing late-night comedy. And something shifted after that. The feud wasn't funny to Trump anymore, it was personal. That's when Trump started attacking Kimmel on social media relentlessly. Hundreds of posts, middle-of-the-night rants, misspelled insults, random attacks every time Kimmel appeared in headlines. Trump attacked Kimmel's ratings, his intelligence, his appearance, his talent, everything, except the real issue. Kimmel's jokes were accurate. And then, as Congress accelerated the Epstein file release, Trump's allies began melting down too. MAGA Speaker Mike Johnson publicly tried to stall the bill. He claimed the push for transparency was a Democrat distraction. He insisted the bill needed amendments. He claimed it risked harming innocent reputations. But none of it worked. The House passed it 427-1. The Senate forced a unanimous consent vote. The bill moved straight toward Trump's desk. Kimmel seized every second of it. He mocked the panic. He mocked the excuses. He mocked the way Trump and his allies were scrambling to slow something that was already happening. And Trump snapped again. He went on TV furious at reporters asking about the Epstein files. He attacked journalists. He called one reporter a terrible person simply for asking why he wouldn't release the documents immediately. But behind the scenes, Trump wasn't focused on the investigation. He was still raging about Kimmel. Because by this point, it wasn't just jokes. Kimmel had become a symbol of something Trump couldn't control. He could pressure politicians. He could pressure donors. He could pressure fixers and allies. He could even pressure foreign governments. But he couldn't silence a comedian with a desk, a camera, and total freedom. And Kimmel wasn't slowing down. If anything, he was warming up. The next chapter of this feud, the 2024 Oscars, was about to humiliate Trump on the biggest stage possible. By early 2024, Trump's frustration with Jimmy Kimmel had gone from irritation to obsession to a full, uncontrollable meltdown. And nothing exposed that more than what happened at the Oscars. Kimmel was hosting Hollywood's biggest night, standing center stage with millions of viewers watching. Trump, as usual, insisted he wasn't watching. But just like every year, he was, glued to the screen, waiting for a reason to explode. And sure enough, midway through the show, Trump launched into an all-caps tirade on Truth Social. He called Kimmel the worst host in Oscars history, claimed he was less than average, and even suggested ABC replace him with George Stephanopoulos, Trump's own butchered version of George Stephanopoulos. It wasn't just an insult, it was a tantrum, a desperate attempt to undermine a comedian who wasn't even talking about him. But Kimmel didn't ignore it. He did something Trump never expected. He stopped the Oscars in real time, pulled out his phone, and read Trump's rant word for word live on stage. The audience roared, actors laughed, directors clapped. Millions of viewers at home couldn't believe what they were watching. A sitting president, unable to control his temper, getting publicly humiliated during the Academy Awards. Kimmel didn't even need to add jokes. Trump's own rant was the punchline. And that moment shook Trump. Because it wasn't a monologue on ABC. It wasn't a late-night show he could pretend he didn't watch. This was the Oscars, one of the biggest broadcasts on the planet, turning his meltdown into entertainment. And Kimmel wasn't done. After the show, he revealed he was specifically told not to read Trump's message on air. He did it anyway. Not out of rebellion, but because he knew exactly how much it would bother Trump. He later told The Hollywood Reporter, "I know it drives him crazy, and that really tickles me." Trump had become Kimmel's muse. Every outburst created more material. Every attack gave Kimmel another opening. Every meltdown made the jokes sharper. And Kimmel wasn't the only one noticing. Reporters saw the pattern too. The more pressure Trump faced, from Congress, from investigations, from the Epstein file release, the more unhinged he became with Kimmel. And right when the country was debating one of the most controversial transparency bills in years, Trump was posting insults about the Oscars. While senators forced MAGA Republicans into silence, Trump was rage-typing on his phone. While Schumer pushed the bill through at lightning speed, Trump was publicly attacking a comedian instead of addressing the political crisis. It showed something deeper. Trump couldn't handle being laughed at. He could handle legal trouble. He could handle political conflict. He could handle scandals. He could even handle criminal indictments. But a joke, a punchline, a comedian mocking him on live TV, that's what broke him. And that weakness set the stage for the biggest meltdown in their entire feud, the moment Trump finally decided to use government power, not just insults, to get revenge. That moment came in 2025, and it was the most extreme step he had ever taken. By 2025, Trump's feud with Jimmy Kimmel had moved far beyond jokes and insults. It had turned into something darker, something political, calculated, and personal. And it all exploded in September. That month, tensions in Washington were already high. Congress had forced the release of the Epstein files through 2 overwhelming votes. The House passed the bill with only 1 vote against it. The Senate passed it by unanimous consent, something that almost never happens. While lawmakers pushed the bill straight toward Trump's desk, the pressure around him kept tightening. Every reporter who asked about the files triggered another outburst. Every question about transparency sent him spiraling. And in the middle of all that chaos, Jimmy Kimmel delivered a monologue about Charlie Kirk and the political fallout surrounding the Epstein bill. That was the spark. Trump's FCC chairman, Brendan Carr, publicly threatened ABC with regulatory consequences. Major affiliates panicked and began pulling Kimmel's show from their schedules. Then ABC cracked under pressure and announced Kimmel was being suspended indefinitely. To Trump, this was victory. Not a political win, not a legislative win, a personal win. He rushed onto Truth Social like a child celebrating at recess. He declared Kimmel canceled. He congratulated ABC for having the courage to do what had to be done. He mocked Kimmel's talent, his ratings, his show, anything he could type fast enough in all caps. Then he demanded more. He called for NBC to fire Jimmy Fallon and Seth Meyers next. He demanded the FCC look into ABC's license. He bragged about suing the network before, claiming he would test ABC again. But something Trump never expected happened. People fought back. Within hours, #BringBackKimmel trended across social media. Thousands of Disney Plus subscriptions were canceled in protest. Pro-Kimmel marches appeared outside Disney's Burbank headquarters. Late-night hosts who rarely agree on anything, Jon Stewart, Colbert, Seth Meyers, even Jimmy Fallon, publicly united behind Kimmel. And the backlash didn't stop with comedians. Republican senators, Ted Cruz, Mitch McConnell, Rand Paul, condemned Trump's interference. Civil liberties groups joined in. Media watchdogs tore the FCC's threats apart. Even conservative pundits warned that Trump was crossing a constitutional line. The entire attempt to silence one comedian turned into a national scandal. And then, after 6 days of public outrage, ABC blinked. They reinstated Jimmy Kimmel. And not quietly, they brought him back on the biggest broadcast his show had ever seen. Millions tuned in, not just fans, but people who had never once watched late-night television. Everyone wanted to see what he'd say. And Kimmel delivered. He didn't scream, he didn't rant, he didn't even look angry. He simply walked out, smiled, and did what he'd been doing since the very beginning. He told the truth and made Trump the punchline. While that episode aired, Trump was melting down online again, posting rants about ratings, lawsuits, conspiracies, and how ABC was jeopardizing its license. He even claimed he'd been told the show was canceled for good and couldn't understand how Kimmel was suddenly back on air. But the message had already been sent. Trump tried to silence him, and it failed. He tried to intimidate him, and it backfired. He tried to destroy him. And it only made Kimmel bigger, because that's the thing about comedy. You can't kill it with anger. You can't ban it with threats. You can't scare it into silence. If anything, Trump proved exactly why comedians exist in the first place. To speak truth when the powerful can't handle it. To laugh when someone tries to control the narrative. To remind people that no leader, no matter how loud, can escape accountability. In the end, Trump didn't shut Jimmy Kimmel down. He made him stronger. He made him sharper. He turned him into one of the most effective critics of his presidency. And the irony is perfect. Trump didn't lose this feud because Kimmel is a comedian. He lost because Kimmel wasn't afraid of him. Even today, Kimmel is still on the air, still cracking jokes, still pulling in millions of viewers, still pushing every one of Trump's buttons. And Trump? He's still raging online, still obsessing, still reacting to every punchline like it's a national crisis. 2 men, 1 microphone, and 1 undeniable truth. When a thin-skinned politician goes to war with a comedian, the comedian wins every single time.